For many years, Toyota has garnered the reputation of one of the most reliable car manufacturers on the planet. Things have changed though in recent years. Yes, in fact, could you actually believe that the tides have turned and Toyota has now kissed reliability goodbye? Let's get into it now. There was three key features that Toyota lived by, and that was their sort of driving force, their guiding light as to how they attained and maintained high levels of reliability and long service life. Let's talk about those three elements. We'll get into it and I'll explain why I do believe those three elements have now been jeopardized. Number one, of course, Toyota has traditionally been the manufacturer that has resisted quick change, knee-jerk reaction, technology that's hot on the market. They're the last car brand to actually get on board. They usually work things out and prove them out before they actually fully implement a lot of that new technology into their cars. Number two, and of course, they always resist features, performance numbers on paper for the sake of overall durability and reliability. Those are the primary reasons why reliability has always been top shelf. Another third reason, which we'll also address why in fact some of that has been compromised, the number one objective is service life, long service life, for simplicity. They always wanted to build a car like this that gets you from A to B for many, many years, 10, 20, 30 years long, and actually with minimal cost and maintenance. So let's talk about those three items and how now that Toyota has jeopardized those very factors. So the first thing is some of this modern day technology with remote start. You can run through the key fob, all the latest applications you can run on your phone to start the vehicle. Let's just open this up and look inside and talk about some of the technology that they got on board with. Now we look right here. Now it looks like a pretty traditional car, nothing too exciting or outlandish, but what's this? What do we have here is the big display. This is an example of when we say Toyota tries to resist going into the newest technology. Well, there's no doubt in my mind that this is a newer style, new design element. Every manufacturer, particularly the luxury manufacturers, are doing this. They're putting this big screen on there. Look at Audi, BMW. They're all doing something similar to this. Well, now Toyota's doing this. And guess what? We have had problems with this already. So the resistance for this type of technology, as simple as it may seem, is a factor in not so much its reliability, but its overall durability and problem-free driving. So one might say that's a pretty simple technology, and generally it is. But if you can believe it, this is a 2023 model year. The car only has 7,000 kilometers on it, and this piece here actually failed. Well, the radio stopped working. So the display would come up, all of the knobs and buttons, you could hit these buttons and everything changed and the display functioned. Everything's functioning, but basically the audio failed to come out of the speakers down there. We no longer had sound coming out of there. So there was a problem. And then we took it to the Toyota dealer and we explained what was happening, and they laughed at initially until we handed them the key. They actually thought we were being bizarre and strange. We've never seen anything like that. Well, guess what? We saw it, it happened to us, so we took it in there. They realized, yeah, this is weird. So they actually had to take it into the shop, they reset it, they changed some codes, disconnected the battery, did some other odds and sods. I mean, the car has warranty, so they didn't have to tell us a whole lot what they did, but they went through a bunch of different sequences and checks and resets, and now lo and behold it works. But that's not a positive indication as to the overall reliability. What is that? Now granted, that's not the type of failure that's going to leave you roadside begging for a tow. However, it is one of those things that when the vehicle's out of warranty, it's still going to cost you dollars out of your pocket. You're going to sit there with a stereo that's not functioning. Who wants that? That could still cost you $1,000 to retrofit that piece. So clearly not a great indication as to the overall durability of some of this modern day technology, which is something that clearly Toyota has always thrived on in their history. Now, a few short years ago, Toyotas were a basic mode of transportation, no frills if you will. Now I get the market partially drives the problem. People want more technology, they want more features within their cars, and of course Toyota finds the best way to give you maximum value. So more interesting features that Toyota has now added to their arsenal of technology, which could potentially impact their longevity and reliability, and certainly maintenance costs for the long haul happens to be, for example, this one here is an SE all-wheel drive. Yes, in other other words, most Toyotas traditionally have been front-wheel drive. Now they go and add extra elements. You've got a rear differential, you've got all-wheel drive system here. Now, while that makes it great and it's practical, and it's still relatively reliable, it is in fact another maintenance component that can potentially fail. A lot of Toyotas too nowadays are hybrid. Everybody knows Toyota's hybrid cars are probably some of the more reliable hybrid vehicles out there. But that doesn't change the fact that batteries are a maintenance item. 5 or 10 years down the road, you're doing a set of batteries. Now, while Toyota hasn't yet gone on the wagon with full EV, they have in fact gone almost completely into the hybrid marketplace. And of course, again, there's additional wear and tear items. There's electric motors, of course, we've got batteries and all the electronics and technology buried around that. And wait till those vehicles get up to that 10 or 15 year mark. There's a good chance that many of these vehicles won't make it 15, 20 years because of that extra technology that's buried under the hood of many of those hybrid vehicles. But some other technology that you'll find in these cars is things like sunroof. Now, while sunroofs aren't inherently unreliable, it is yet one more thing that potentially could fail. Of course, they do ride on a rail, and sometimes when they're not maintained properly, they can come off a rail or they can bind. That's just yet another component that if it's abused and not maintained properly, it can come off the rails and become a money pit. Other technology we have in these modern Toyotas, we now have heated seats. We have heated steering wheels. Of course, we have push button start. These are all factors that could potentially lead to premature failure. Now, of course, look, we even have an electronic park brake. These are things that Toyotas didn't do a few short years ago. I mean, Toyotas now are putting in all the technology that you're finding in a lot of modern day luxury cars. All the safety nannies, all the electronics, features that you would once only find in Audis and BMWs, you're now finding in cars like these modern day Toyotas. Now, the only limitation is where they cut corners is on fabrics and plastics, and they use less leather and those types of elements. But at the end of the day, the technology is what potentially could take them down, and there's much more of it in modern day Toyotas. So the next feature, why Toyotas often are considered one of the most long-lasting, most reliable vehicles on the planet, is because they had numerous models that were designed in a certain way for long service life. I'll give you some examples. The Toyota Sequoia with V8 engine was literally built to run 300,000 miles, as well as the Land Cruiser and the old Toyota Tundra with the 5.7 liter V8 engine, and they're all naturally aspirated. And the key theme there is, of course, they're all body on frame vehicles, and they all have naturally aspirated V8s. Now, of course, those are the cars and the vehicles in the Toyota lineups that have typically averaged out the overall service life of the Toyota as a whole brand. I mean, the brand generally lasts pretty long, even if you're talking about Corollas and Camrys. However, those vehicles in particular were ones that really allowed the cars to run a long time. The long service life that many owners of Toyotas have often really enjoyed is starting to dwindle away because vehicles like the Sequoias are disappearing, and vehicles like the Tundra now, they're converting and they're going with a twin turbo V6, which of course already there's wastegate problems in the current generation V6, and of course now there's coupled up with a hybrid with certain variations of that Tundra. So clearly, turbocharging vehicles is going to compromise and jeopardize the longevity of a lot of these Toyotas. This here is one of the few engines that Toyota now has that's currently naturally aspirated. We have here a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine, and it's naturally aspirated. So there's no turbos, there's no superchargers, and there's not even a hybrid system on this car. This is clearly one of the most potentially dependable Toyotas on the market available today. Now, with all of that said, not all Camrys are treated like that. There's other ones with V6s, which is also a pretty good workhorse, but now a lot of engines coming out in the Toyota and Lexus brands are becoming turbocharged. Now they're providing the twin turbo V6, which we mentioned that you can find in the Tundra. You also have a turbocharged 4-cylinder engine available in some of these vehicles. So as you start adding turbocharging to a lot of these vehicles and put the turbos under the engine compartment here, you're going to add extra, more or less, complexity because there's extra cooling, extra oiling, but also on top of it, there will be extra heat. And when you're adding extra heat, of course, it's going to start taking a toll on some of the plastics around it. And of course, the extra strain on the engine itself is going to reduce the lifespan of that engine. Now, sadly, the service life that, like I said, many Toyota owners enjoyed many years ago is going to average out lower. Yes, Everybody says the average lifespan of vehicles is going up, but I truly believe, and what I've seen is it actually peaked out at a point where the most recent last generation of Toyotas is where they maximize the efficiency and the build quality of a lot of their naturally aspirated engines. And now we've hit that tipping point, and now we're at a place where we're starting to reduce the lifespan of a lot of these engines because of these smaller displacement engines, turbocharging, and extra technology. So now we're going to start seeing vehicles that are more throwaway, and unfortunately Toyota is going to fall by the same wayside. And the reduced service life of these vehicles can also come in other formats, because now as you have this extra technology, when we talk about some of the electrics and electronics, there's extra modules and technology with that, the average service life will be reduced, because you'll get to a point where it just doesn't seem to make sense to continually pour money down the proverbial pit for the sake of just keeping the vehicle on the road. I mean, you can run it so long and then it just becomes fiscally and financially irresponsible to keep pouring money. So generally, the more complex the vehicle, the shorter the lifespan, because as the second and third and fourth owners get their hands on it and the technology starts to run away with failures, people just find it just not appropriate to continue pouring money, and that will definitely hurt the service life that, again, Toyota once really enjoyed. So the third factor why Toyota, I believe, is truly losing some of their longevity as well as their reliability comes down to, for example, what they've been doing with some of their vehicles. Think about the new Toyota Supra. What is that Supra? Well, it's actually a BMW vehicle, because the engine and the transmission are based on BMW, as well as much of the electronic technology. Sure, the exterior is designed by Toyota, but a lot of the guts and the glory is basically designed by that German Bavaria money waster. Now, of course, the GR86, also BMW. However, their new Tundra, they also forewent the 5.7 liter V8 for this new twin turbo V6, all for the sake of bragging numbers, performance, put down the payload numbers. All of those factors to sell more vehicles are reasons why, in fact, that Toyota literally probably will not last and is not as reliable as it once was. So generally, Toyota used to prioritize overall functionality, simplicity, over outright numbers, performance numbers that is, and efficiency numbers, the numbers that you can see on paper. Those are the numbers, in fact, that sell cars. And so the tide has shifted. Again, as I mentioned, they're going from tried and true naturally aspirated small four-cylinder engines up to twin turbo engines or single turbocharged engines, hybrid technology. Those are the reasons. It used to be the trade-off, simple design, simple car instead of the higher performing car. But that's changing. They're changing it up. That's why they're going with the Supras. That's why they're going with the twin turbo cars and the turbo four-cylinder engines in some of these models. They're looking for selling cars now above and beyond just creating the simplest, most economical vehicle on the market today. I mean, even Toyota now has a GR Toyota Corolla, which actually pumps out 300 horsepower from a 3-cylinder turbo engine. Very impressive on paper, and it's a hot little hot hatch, but it's going to be a jeopardized reliability type of piece. And of course, when we talk about some of these other cars like the Supra, again, I have to say that the older 2JZ Supra, everybody knew it was rugged, robust, it was a tuner special, and it was bulletproof. But this new Supra is BMW. They didn't have the resources, they certainly didn't have the R&D behind, but they wanted to get a Supra to market. And of course, now they're jeopardizing their overall durability and reliability by running a BMW drivetrain. So as long as you can still get vehicles like this, that they're a simple automatic transmission, you can actually get a basic naturally aspirated engine like this one has yet, these are these pockets of reliability that Toyota is going to maintain. It's just all these additional vehicles that they keep adding in technology, performance, and their focus is clearly shifted, is certainly going to jeopardize their overall reliability. It's a great brand. It's not going to hell in a handbasket, but I have to say, it's not the vehicle and not the manufacturer that you once expected to run to 300,000 miles. Things have changed, unless you're buying specific models. With reliability being your sole focus, you're certainly going to give up some of the other fringe benefits that you're finding in 80% of the new Toyota models. And with all of that said, everyone, right there, you're going to want to check that video out. We actually compare a modern-day Toyota with a modern-day Mercedes-Benz and talk about the reliability differences as well as quality. You're going to love that one. Check it out. Hope to see each and every one of you on the next one. We'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.